on this afternoon. I'm really excited to have Tom Matzen on our show, and I'm really grateful for him to join us because Tom has been a huge part of supporting us and our team in E3 and our project. Tom is the person behind the whole coffee shop concept of E3, and we're very grateful to have him as part of our team in terms of an advisor and giving us the best direction for getting that all set up. So welcome, Tom, to the show.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
Hello, viewers. I like to joke. There's always two people watching at any one time. So hello to both of you, and hello to Carolyn.
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us. And I have to say, I had Tom send over his bio so that I can do a little intro when this is posted on YouTube. And so when I was reading your bio, there's actually a lot of things that I didn't know about you. And so it was quite fascinating and interesting to get a little bit more in-depth background about the stuff that you do. But I was just blown away. Like,
yeah, I've done way too little focusing over the years.
Yeah. So you must be a true entrepreneur then, because I totally get that.
Yeah, definitely a serial entrepreneur. I wear that badge with pride.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So I'm really excited about you coming on and just sharing your journey and also what you've done and where you are right now. So if we get started, I would really just love to hear from you just a little bit more on what you shared with me on your bio about yourself. Tell me about yourself.
Sure. Well, I've been an entrepreneur now for a little over 30 years. Started some 82 businesses of my own with partners and on my own. Coached hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs to do the same. Made and lost millions over that time. In fact, multiple millions.
Yes, I read that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say the best lessons are the hard fought ones, and there's no doubt about it. When you lose millions of dollars on a transaction, you tend to focus on what happened a lot more than when it works out. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. Right now and for the last several years, my focus is helping authority entrepreneurs create movements, create global movements, 7, 8, and even 9-figure businesses. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. I also heavily believe in something I call strategic philanthropy, which is, as you know, doing good and making money at the same time.
Yeah.
And I definitely did cut my teeth in the coffee business. I think 187 coffee bars, 152,000 books sold on the topic. I've done a lot of work in the coffee bar space over the years. So happy to support E3 and the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you. We're really grateful for that. And actually, when we share that with people that are interested in E3 being part of the project, or just people that want to be in the space, they're just blown away by your background, right? And all the knowledge and experience that you bring to the table. I mean, I don't know. How can you get any better than that? 187 coffee shops. I mean, you obviously know what you're doing. So
yeah, that's a lot of lattes.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of coffee, that's for sure. And the funny thing is, I'm not even a coffee drinker. I drink tea, but I love the smell of it. So I'll be happy to be in the space and smelling all the different, versions of coffee that are out there that people love to enjoy. But yeah, like I said, we're really grateful to have you on board. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and being open to, supporting us and what we're trying to create as well. So
sure, you bet. Well, let's see if we can add some value to your listeners today too.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to find out is, what are you currently focusing on? Because we know, like I said, I knew you mostly with the coffee shop side of it. So when I read your bio, I was really impressed by all these other things that you're doing. So currently, what is your main focus for yourself?
My sole focus is helping authority entrepreneurs build 7-figure businesses. So it's an entrepreneur that has an expertise and authority in their space, and figuring out how to monetize that to the tune of 7 figures, $1 million a year or more. There's a lot of people in the entrepreneur space that just can't create consistent, predictable cash flow and yet they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And part of that is the strategy that they're using to execute. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are teaching people to sell low ticket, low margin items.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just takes, frankly, it takes a lot of fight, a lot of sales to make low ticket, low margin items profitable for an entrepreneur. So our focus is on that. We call it the Embark $1 Million Authority Partnership. And we do that, you know, primarily through masterclasses.
Okay.
We think masterclasses are the new webinars. In fact, frankly, we think most webinars are dead in terms of an online format that educates and inspires. You can't get a lot covered in 45 minutes.
No.
Even now, we're gonna cover a few points, a few ideas.
Yes, exactly.
You can't affect meaningful change in a half an hour or an hour. The masterclasses we do are all 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And if you're an entrepreneur listening to this and you're looking to motivate or inspire action, consider using masterclasses, because they've been a phenomenal tool for us, and they continue to work really well for our partners and clients.
That's wonderful. And what does that look like exactly, if you want to walk us through the process of getting into the masterclass with you and your team? What does that look like for an
Well, if you're going to design a masterclass for yourself, the first thing you want to do is really clearly identify the outcome that you want to offer in your masterclass. You also want to think about your offer, but the way we've been doing masterclasses, we teach in the 3 hours as much about the outcome as we possibly can, ideally the entire method or process that you have. And then the offer simply becomes, would you like help?
Yeah.
Right? So here's exactly how to do it. You know, for example, as we record this, we're about to do a global summit for entrepreneurs with 32 master classes over 8 days. It's crazy. No one's ever done this. And every one of them have a compelling, amazing outcome that they're doing.
Yeah.
And so the masterclass will deliver step by step how to accomplish that over the 3 hours.
Wow.
And the offer simply becomes, okay, now you know how to do it. Would you like help?
Yeah.
You can do it on your own, or we can help you. And what that allows, you know, just sort of from a strategy level, is you don't need any fancy sales languaging. You don't need any of the manipulation of NLP with the subconscious programming. By now, Carolyn, you're thinking this is a good thing to do. Like all these little mind tricks that people have been taught to do. You don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're simply sharing the method. And in our own masterclass, and we'll have a link here somewhere for that, in our own masterclass, we teach people how to build a 7-figure authority business. Well, whether someone works with us or not, in the 3 hours, we show you exactly how to do that. We show you each of the steps hour by hour to accomplish that. Okay. And then our offer is the same thing. Our offer is simply, would you like help? Do you want to do it together, or do you want to do it on your own? And it's such... What's amazing about it is it's such a refreshing way to sell, because there's no manipulation.
Yeah.
You can be fully transparent. In fact, we encourage this in the format. You're doing 30 minutes of content, 15-minute Q&A, and then 15 minutes on your offer. And then the next hour, 30 minutes of new content, 15-minute Q&A, 15-minute offer. And then 30 minutes of new content, 15-minute Q&A, and 15 minutes on the offer. And so what happens is people get to know you. They get to build a relationship with you if they've never been on one of your classes before. We've seen from our data, almost all of our master classes lead to what we call a strategy session.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation that takes, you know, half an hour to really see if we can help them crush whatever the outcome is of the master class. Well, that's a sophisticated step, but it's a simple step. If people think it's a good fit, it's not, you know, they don't have to write a check. They don't have to put it their credit card. They just basically say, yeah, okay, I'm willing to invest an hour to see if you guys can help me with this goal.
Yeah.
And we love the format. We look at our application rate, and what happens is, you know, whatever percentage applies in the first hour, it's usually double or triple in the second hour.
Really?
And then again, in the third hour and afterwards, matches whatever the first hour is.
Yeah.
So, you know, by having a repeating of the offer, you're also building trust with your audience, because you're saying, this is what it's all about. You know, this is where we're going. This is the game we're playing. Oh, and by the way, that's done. Now let's go back to some more content.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool format for it.
Awesome.
We love it. I started doing it about a year and a half ago, and it worked well right out of the gate. Low ticket, high ticket, but for high ticket, high margin programs,
Yeah.
it's like a secret weapon.
Yeah.
It's like a secret weapon. We're consistently getting. Well, here's the couple of cool data points. 3 hours long. I'm sure people listening to this for the first time are going, 3 hours? Who's going to stick around for 3 hours? Well, the lowest retention rate we've had, which is the percentage of people at the start and the percentage at the end, the worst we've ever done is 93%.
Really?
93%. And the last 5 masterclasses we did, we had negative breakage, meaning we had more than 100% of the people at the end than we had at the start.
That's amazing.
Well, wow. But think about it. If you're attending yourself,
yeah,
you're only going to stick around if there's meaningful content.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You're otherwise you go click, you're gone. Yeah. Right? It's like people watching this YouTube video right now, right? It's like if we don't give them some valuable, click, they're gone. They're on to the next dancing cat video, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you got to have meaningful content. Well, in 3 hours, you can do meaningful content.
Yeah.
In a 45-minute webinar, which is kind of the standard form, after you set the stage and have your offer, you got about 20 minutes for content.
Yeah.
And so as a result, most people shatter myths or position your amazingness as a presenter. And then if you really want to get some content, you have to buy their offer.
Right.
Well, the problem with that is you're left unfulfilled, right? It'd be like going to a restaurant, looking at the menu, and not being able to order any food.
Right.
Like, what good does that do? How do you know how good the restaurant is if you just look at the menu?
Yeah.
Right? You might get an idea from the description. Oh, this looks like a pretty good menu, but that's different than having the food.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally different experience. And so, that's what part of what I love about this format. And I encourage anyone that's listening in, if you're selling on value, not price, if you're making a meaningful difference in people's lives, consider testing and running a masterclass, because it's such a simple way to have a profound impact. And the other thing I'm really proud of is that we're getting more unsolicited emails of thanks from the people that aren't raising their hand to do business with us. These are just the free attendees.
Wow.
I'm getting more thank you emails for this than anything I've done in 31 years of business.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It's like, wow, it's really cool. Like I had one a couple months ago from a guy who had his master's in business. And he said, I learned more in your 3-hour masterclass than my 2-year master's program taught me about business.
Well, that's a compliment, isn't it?
It's a compliment, but it's also kind of sad on that master's program at the same time. It's like, holy cow, you should have checked out that school a bit more. But nonetheless, that's what happens when you can provide real content.
Yeah.
Plus, they get to know you.
Yeah.
And so if they get to know you, they get to know your personality and what you're like. And they're not going to raise their hand for a strategy session unless they relate to you and what you're doing too.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. I don't think I've ever seen a master class. I don't think I've ever taken part in one. So
you're gonna love it. You're gonna definitely sign up for our Global Entrepreneur Summit, because there's 32 of them, Carolyn.
Really?
32 master classes over 8 days during World Entrepreneur Week. Just imagine all that content. We're raising money for entrepreneurs hurt by the hurricanes.
Oh, wonderful.
In Florida, Texas, and the Caribbean. Yeah. So the summit's free, but anybody that buys lifetime access to the recordings, 100% of the net proceeds goes to help these entrepreneurs. So
wow.
It's a pretty cool project.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is so awesome. Good for you guys. Yeah, I definitely would want. I'm going to check it out, because I'd like to see how that runs. And is that coming up soon?
Yeah, we're doing the Global Entrepreneurship Week is November 13th to 20th. So as we record this, it's about 3 weeks away. Okay.
Wonderful. I'll keep my eye out for that, and we'll definitely put that on our link here so other people can join and take part in it and check out what a masterclass is, and maybe they'll be interested in your help in whatever business they're developing as well.
Well, but thank you for that. But more importantly, use the format for yourself.
Yes.
Like copy our style, learn from it, because this is actually an amalgamation from 2 amazing entrepreneurs, Iman Aghe, a Canadian entrepreneur, and Josh Turner, a U.S. entrepreneur. They started doing Masterclasses in late 2015, early 2016.
Okay.
And they found well, I told about the show up rate, how high that is.
Yes. Yeah.
In addition, minimum 20% of the attendees raised their hand to book a strategy session.
Wow.
And minimum 30% of those qualify and go ahead. So it's extraordinarily lucrative if you've got a high ticket, high margin program.
Yeah. Huge conversion rates for being
huge,
on
huge,
that.
huge.
Sure.
Yeah. Great way to monetize. And that's one of the keys. One of the things that, if you've got a business out there and you're looking to grow it, you need to have cash flow as you go.
Yes, you do.
The tech companies call that bootstrapping.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Bootstrapping means self-funding your growth.
Right.
So you're not always going out to investors cap in hand saying, give me some money, please. Give me some money, please. Which I've done. You've done, Carolyn. We've all done it. We know what that's like. But that is so much more work than if you're able to self-generate revenue, right?
Yeah, it's not a fun process either, like trying to convince people of your vision and your, this project that you're excited about. So I totally agree 100%. And that.
Well, and the flip side is if you're making money, then it can be a fun process to raise capital.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
because now you're simply saying, hey, you want in on this?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's a great point, and that's exactly what we've discussed within E3 as well in terms of how we raise capital, and that's why we've put a lot of focus in the last, I would say, 4 months in really building our business services end of it, so that we have that area within our business that's cash flowing and generating revenue, so people can see the value in what we're bringing. So awesome. I love it. That's all. And you also do. You guys do in Arizona. What is that event that you do in Arizona? Is that?
Well, we actually do it all over the world. The last one we did was in Arizona. It's called the $1 Million Strategic Alliance Summit. I got bad news. It's not in Arizona next year.
Oh.
It's in Kauai, Hawaii.
Oh, that's terrible news. Who would want to be there? I don't know who would want to be part of that.
And it's in March. So I know you live in Calgary.
Oh,
you're all over the world, but you're based in Calgary.
Yeah.
March Calgary, March Kauai. I don't know.
Oh, I would definitely want to be in Kauai. We were in Honolulu last year in February, and I did not want to come back. Let's just say that. So
yes.
I'd be happy to be somewhere else in March.
It's pretty special. We love that event. It's a whole week of deal making. We spend 4 hours a day in the morning doing deals.
Yes.
And then the rest of the day is unscheduled, unstructured time. You meet with your potential deal-making partners at the pool or at the spa or on the beach, wherever you want to do, and you get to know them. You get to actually build a high-trust relationship. The entire event was created out of my frustration at going to live events, these 3.5-day crazy intensive events.
Yeah.
Where you meet all these fascinating people, but you got no time to get to know them.
That's right. I know. That's great. That's why I'm thinking of this. I'm like, this is brilliant. I love it.
It's a completely different way of doing it. This format, we literally guarantee every attendee that will sign $1 million worth of deals.
Yeah. Wow.
And we screen the attendees to make sure they're a good fit, but it's just part of that is that, and part of that's the format. If you've got time and space to get to know someone, then you can build trust. And once you've got trust, there's lots of ways to work together.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. There's been so many events where, like you said, I meet amazing people, and we try to do kind of like a little quick power session there of like, what do you do? What do I do? How can we collaborate? How can we work together? And then you go back to your life, and they get busy and you get busy, and the connection just isn't the same after, of trying to keep that momentum of excitement that you had.
Yeah,
so,
and even if you're awesome at following up, and I'll give you an example. The last event I spoke at, we were doing a fundraising thing for the hurricane victims. And these were the people that entered. Okay. These are the people that entered we said, if you enter, we'll offer one of our high-end coaching programs as a bonus to someone.
Yeah.
68 people entered right away, said, yeah, we'll support this hurricane effort. And I'm a monster at follow up and follow through. We scanned all the cards, put them in our contact management system, reached out, emailed them, talked to them, and maybe a third even bothered to follow up on their own promise to help these entrepreneurs hurt by the hurricane. And all we're asking them to do is send emails.
Yeah.
But literally, 1/3 of that pile has even followed up to respond to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows you, I mean, we're busy running our lives. We've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
But if you don't make time to build a real relationship, you know, sorry people, but likes on Facebook is not a relationship.
No.
Friends on Facebook are not friends in the real world of doing deals. That's for sure.
100%. We were actually talking about this today with another friend of mine out of New York, and he's a coach, and that's what he was saying. Is he's like, we're in this situation right now in the world where everybody is obviously online, and you know, Facebook, Instagram, all those things, which are great, but there's no real development of relationships between people. There's that human contact is being lost, and a lot of people don't even know how to interact. Like there's this awkwardness about, and it's weird because for me, I've always been a people person, and I love to chat, and I've never had that problem. So when people say, oh, it's weird for me to like reply to you back, well, it's just a reply. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not asking you for like your firstborn. I want to build a relationship and get to know you. So that is a huge thing that.
Well, and that's something that live, can only be done live.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
You can slowly build a relationship over video or audio, but it's not the same.
No.
And there's not the same level of trust.
Yeah.
Right. And as you know, because you've done a lot in business, it's not when things are going well that you need the trust. It's when things aren't going well.
Yes.
Right. When there's a breakdown in that communication.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a client that backed out of a business transaction we were doing, and we had done $200,000 worth of business for her in the last 3 months.
Wow.
And afterwards we thought about it and we're like, well, if that's not good, I'm not sure what would be. So it was sort of like, well, we justified that, yeah, she's right. Good riddance. We were just sort of saying in our own head.
Yeah.
But part of it was, why was she so silly in doing that?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of business for most people.
Yeah.
To send someone $200,000 worth of business in actually, I guess it was 4 months.
Wow.
But when we thought about it, we had never met her live.
Right.
She didn't come to our event in Scottsdale, where most of our other partners had.
Mm-hmm.
And no wonder she didn't have a high trust relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So on our side, now we looked at it and we said, you know what, we're going to make it mandatory every time we do one of our strategic alliance summits, our $1 million strategic alliance summits, we call it now. Yeah. We're going to make it mandatory for our partners to come. Now we're going to make them come to Kauai.
Yeah, that sounds like a terrible idea. I mean, that you're just torturing them with that, but
yeah. But that's part of it, because they can meet the other partners. They can build their own trust relationships. Yeah. They can do other side deals. We had several partners in Scottsdale do that. They did side deals where they're doing other deals with other people they met, which is totally smart.
Yes.
Right? All entrepreneurs should have multiple streams of income. They shouldn't just have one.
100%. Yeah.
So.
No, I love it. I think that's great. And I'm all about the face-to-face. So I love that you're saying that, because I feel like I said, it's a skill that a lot of people don't have, and it's getting lost in the world of, online communication. But I feel like you said, it's the most important way to actually get to know people and build those relationships, long-term relationships.
Yeah. And for those that are a little nervous about that whole process, I learned a long time ago from a good friend of mine who he calls it the Larry King approach. Many of you may not remember Larry King. Larry King is a TV interviewer from CNN days. He's been on the air for like 50 years. And amazingly, now he does interviews on Russian television.
Really?
Yeah, RTV. Larry King.
Gosh.
He's been divorced 7 times, so he's got to keep working. On paying for all of his wives. But I think that's an actual reality. I don't think that's
I was going to say, you're probably right.
It may be funny, but I think it's an economic reality. But having said that, this person who taught me, it said that, just to Larry King them. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, Larry King is fascinated about everything. Mm-hmm. And if you ever listen to one of his interviews or go on YouTube and search him, you will see he's always fascinated. And, I would joke to people, like, if you were talking about a house painter on Larry King would be like, really? So what's it like when you're painting a wall beige? Really? Wow. And like, does it dry different if it's eggshell or satin?
Yeah.
Like literally Larry would be like that in an interview. So
Yes.
guess what? People wanted to talk to Larry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the tip I learned from this other person, in fact, I was living in Calgary at the time working with Dale Carnegie, and the person gave me this tip was it's to simply be fascinated about whatever they're saying.
Right.
And then the question for that, as long as you're in the game, is tell me more.
Yes.
That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Tell me more.
Yes.
And also a good tip for guys that are dating, because they don't always focus on listening, but that's a separate story. I'm not an expert in that category, but I've heard that guys are bad listeners occasionally.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Thankfully, Chris and I have worked really well in that sense of developing our listening skills for both of us.
Sorry, what were you saying? I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm doing the medal report, and it's time for me to talk. So that's something that we're like, that's our key. You better pay attention because this is important. Wonderful. Well, tell me, I know that we've talked a lot about what you're offering, and I just love it because I'm fascinated, again, because I've known you from the coffee shop side of it. So I'm glad that we spent time on that. But I wanted to know what has been your journey to get to where you are right now? Like, where can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you started from?
Sure. I started my first business when I was 16. It was a DJ business. Myself and two buddies, we got together back in the days of LPs.
Yeah.
Before Al Gore invented the internet and streaming music. And we would play dances and be DJs. And I remember, in fact, for years, I had my first business card framed. And I framed it not because I was so proud, but because it was a moment of humbleness for me as I got to become really good at marketing. Mm-hmm. I kept this because part of distinguishing yourself in marketing, as you know, is to be unique.
Yes.
Right? To have a very narrow or niche or focused audience and really hone in on delivering value for that narrow audience.
Right.
Well, our slogan on these cards, it was called After 8 Music Services. And the slogan was, we play for anyone. And we did. We did polkas, we did bar mitzvahs, we did rock and roll, we did swing, we did, you name it, we did it.
Yeah.
But it was like the stupidest recipe for business possible. So I can tell you that number one business never made us a ton of money. It always paid for our beer money. That's about it.
Yeah.
But it we had a lot of fun. It was great. It was interesting. What I realized really quickly, though, is that you were never going to make any money if you weren't focusing more. And so I started very early taking seminars and courses.
Oh, that's awesome.
And programs and trainings. And I personally invested well over $500,000 in that today. And that's not counting the airfare and travel costs. That's just in tuition.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the things I would recommend to everyone listening in is learn how to be awesome.
Yeah.
Learn how to be awesome. So that was sort of the first part of the journey. And early on, I learned how to generate leads and convert them. Okay. What some people call sales and marketing.
Yeah.
I distinguish it. I call it lead generation and lead conversion.
Right.
And the reason I use those terms is that I find most early stage entrepreneurs, they got no clue what sales and marketing is in and of itself. And they think all these broad ideas like branding and positioning. Right. And frankly, those strategies will never pay the bills. They're good reinforcing strategies, but you want to be able to generate a lead and you want to be able to convert that lead into a client. That pays the bills.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
Totally. And so you need to think that way. You need to always be thinking, is this a lead generation activity?
Right.
No. Okay. Is this a lead conversion activity? No. Then it's not marketing.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not marketing. It's a waste of time. It's a feel good.
Right.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with doing feel good things. That's called hobbies. Right. But don't confuse that with actually running a business.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what happened in the first 10 years of my life. I learned to really get clear on lead generation, lead conversion, lead generation, lead conversion. And now, of course, you also need to deliver a service or a product. You need to have, what I like to call a wow experience. And Walt Disney coined that phrase. He believed he was in the wow customer service business. To this day, even though he's been dead for years, people that go to Disneyland or Disney World are blown away.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you go to Six Flags or some of the other competitors that are out there, it's like not even close.
No,
right?
night and day. Yes. Yeah. That's a great way to compare it because that's so clear. It's so like if you've ever experienced it, it's you just like you said, right away the huge difference in what they're providing.
Yeah. So always be thinking, one of the takeaways for that for me is always being thinking of how do you create a wow? How do you create a wow experience? And not just for your clients, for your prospects too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because the fastest way to get clients is to have people recommend you. Everyone knows that, but very few entrepreneurs have documented referral programs to thank them for that.
Right.
Right. Well, why is that? That's crazy. You're spending all this money trying to get new clients. Why not nurture the existing ones that you have? So, that becomes a big part of it too. Creating a wow experience automatically will generate more business for you.
Yeah. Right.
More referrals. We're running an online contest right now as one of our lead generation strategies. And the last time we checked, 85.5% of the entries had come from referrals.
Wow, that's a huge number.
Yeah. So it was. Sorry, let me clarify that. For every entry we got, 85% were referred. So basically, it's almost 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Not quite. We want to get to 1-to-1, so we're not quite there, but it's close.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's awesome, and I was really pleased with the data point.
Yeah.
But having said that, that's because we put a lot of effort into rewarding those who spread the word.
Yeah.
Right. And I find a lot of times small business owners get so myopic of, well, I can't do that. I need to pay the bills. It's like, well, yeah, but if you encourage your existing customers to get you new customers, it's easier to pay the bills.
That's right. Yes. Well, and then it's easier because they're working for you now because they're promoting, yourself and what you preach. So you don't have to go out there and put all that money into maybe some marketing efforts, like you said, that aren't really going to reach the right people anyways. So.
Well, then that's the difference between happy clients and what I call raving fans.
Yeah.
Raving fans willingly refer people to you unsolicited. Yeah. They're more loyal when you mess up. And that's really important for me because at the speed I go, I mess up all the time. So really loyal when you mess up is very helpful. Yeah. And they're willingly wanting to spend more with you. They seek out ways to do that.
Right.
In fact, my Twitter handle is raving fans for the number 4 life, raving fans for life, because I actually think that's the purpose of a business.
Yeah.
If you're creating raving fans, everything else takes care of itself.
Yes, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's a high bar. Happy customers are not raving fans. It's a very high bar to have them raving. And so, it's a good game to play. Yeah. It's worth doing.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I love to hear how that has evolved for you, I guess, over the years, and especially like you said, in the last year and a half, and really getting clear and zoning in on how to make that better, right? And just even the way that you
and that was the other thing. We talk about target markets. Yeah. My target market changed over the years. Early on, I was working with any entrepreneur. First, it was any retailer. Then it was any retailer service business. Mm-hmm. Then it was any business. And I realized I actually didn't want to work with any business people.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with people that really wanted to make a difference in the world. Yeah. That were legacy driven, not just money driven.
Yes, I love that.
And the way I describe that now is people that want to create a movement.
Yeah.
Right? If you just want to make a bunch of money, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
But if you want to create a movement, that's a totally different story because it's a different type of focus.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You're thinking about what's in it for your clients all the time instead of what's in it for your pocketbook.
Yeah. And the motivation is completely different, right? Like that's the one thing that we've actually experienced in the last 8 months with E3, because we've had many opportunities where people have, given us suggestions about like how to, get up running fast and make this, revenue generating and stuff. And then we all kind of come back together and we think about like, what is our big vision with E3? What are we trying to provide? Because for us, it's more than just a business, right? We want to, like you said, leave a legacy. We want to do something impactful long-term for the world, and actually give back and make sure that people coming to that space feel that. They feel that sense of community. So we're like, no, we're not going to back down from the vision that we see for the space, just to, generate big amounts of money quickly.
Well, and that's part of what I love about what you guys are doing with E3. I mean, you're motivated to help small businesses thrive.
Yeah.
The sad numbers are 2 out of 3 fail in the first 6 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And that number hasn't changed in 20 years. It should have changed. There's
Right.
way more information out there now, way more knowledge, but knowledge on its own doesn't do you a lot of good.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And if you don't believe that, just Google your favorite topic in business and you'll get 1 million pages.
Yes.
Like, what is that? What good does that do you? You need the knowledge and you need the perspective or wisdom to know which knowledge when.
That's right.
Right. It's that combination.
Yes.
Right. I used to say the information age is gone. Now it's the perspective age. My partner, Frank, in Embark, he actually says it's not the perspective age anymore, Tom. It's the outcome age, that we actually want outcomes.
Yes. Yeah.
So the knowledge is great, but only if it leads to the outcome we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to hire someone to help you with LinkedIn marketing, you don't want connections. You want revenue.
That's right.
Right. You want clients. And so, connecting, I mean, I got 17,000 LinkedIn connections, right? The vast majority of these people I've never met.
Yes.
I have no clue who they are, wouldn't recognize them in the street, nor would they recognize me.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I get a 5% open rate when I email my LinkedIn list.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm happy because that's probably everyone I know on the list.
Yeah.
Right. So, you definitely want to focus what you're doing on making a difference, I believe. And I know you guys are, and I'm really excited to support that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're super excited about getting the physical locations up and running, and just sharing more of this type of information with the people that come and use the space and come be part of our community. And before we go, I wanted to ask you, tell us, what is the one thing that you're most excited about right now that you're working on?
Well, actually, that's easy because we just launched our first, at least my first in years, nonprofit. We set up an Arizona not-for-profit corporation. It's called the Entrepreneur Empowerment Institute.
Wow.
We had a guest on a summit I did in spring, and she teaches entrepreneurs how to set up their own nonprofit early, before they've made their millions. And I never really understood it fully. And then she came to our summit in Scottsdale, and Sherry Watson is her name. And I started to talk to her, and all of a sudden the lights just sort of went on. I'm like, oh, that's why you're talking about doing this now. It can leverage what you're doing. And so we decided to go all in. We set up our nonprofit. This global summit for entrepreneurs is being run by the nonprofit.
Right.
So 100% of the net proceeds are going to help these entrepreneurs hurt by the hurricanes. That's all going to go through the nonprofit. And I'm super excited about it. Our mission for the nonprofit is to literally reverse the failure rate of small business in the globe.
I love that.
So it's a bold mission. You certainly got our work cut out for us to pull that off.
Yeah.
But there are things we can do with a nonprofit that we just can't do in a for-profit.
Right. Right.
We're getting chambers of commerce supporting this initiative. And if you ever try to get a chamber of commerce to market anything, all they want to do is sell you a membership.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right? Instead, we got chambers all over Texas and Florida supporting us and spreading the word, because the nonprofit is focusing on helping entrepreneurs in their area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
I love that. That's amazing. I think it's going to be like such an impactful service that is very, very needed. Like you said, around the world, there's so many people that have brilliant ideas, brilliant businesses, and they just don't have the resources, or sometimes the skills, or both, to be able to just make it flourish the way it should. So I think that's wonderful.
Good stuff.
I love it. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that offline, and seeing how we can support you with that through E3 as well. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, and we got 2 of the E's. Entrepreneur Empowerment Institute. We're EEI, so we're almost E3. I just realized that right now. Like we're E2.
There you go. E2 and E3 will partner up and support global entrepreneurs. I love
We'll
that.
make E6 together.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for being on our show today. I really appreciate you sharing your story and what you're doing, and just some tips for the entrepreneurs that are watching this show, so that they also know how they can make the best of what they're currently trying to create, and create the most value for their audience and the people in their space. So thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it, and thank you for being part of our community. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, and I'll make sure that we get you a link that you can put in the notes below on the video for people to opt in to get. What would probably be most helpful would be a summary of how to create a 7-figure authority business. We've got a PDF we're happy to send out to people.
Yeah, I would love that.
I'll get you the link for that, and if we can put in the show notes below, people can grab that and at least sort of have a plan. Okay, if I'm going to really build a real business, what do I need to do? What are the steps?
Yes, I love that. That would be wonderful, and I'm sure everyone would appreciate it and make full use out of that, because that sounds like an amazing tool for people to get started. So
happy to share.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate you having you on the show, and look forward to chatting with you again real soon. Thank you.